Welcome, everyone. We'll get started here in a minute. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started for today. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone who's joining us, and welcome to our Workday Help webinar. If you're not familiar with InnoCrowd, we're a full-service Workday partner, and we offer initial deployment, Phase X, and post-production support services for HCM, financials, adaptive planning, extend, integrations, and more. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, please submit those via the Q&A feature, and we'll take time to answer them at the end. With that, I'll pass it over to Amy and Nick to get us started.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Amy Gonzalez. I am a senior consultant here at InnoCrowd. I have been in the Workday ecosystem for a little over 8 years now. I am a PEX product lead as well as a core HCM product lead. I have additional certifications other than PEX and HCM, also in advanced compensation and core compensation.
And hi, everybody. My name is Nick Sandberg. I'm a team leader and our other PEX product lead here at InnoCrowd. I've got a little over 4 years Workday experience. You can see my other areas include HCM, benefits, talent, and I am also a product lead in recruiting. With that, I think we can jump in. So quickly, we'll cover our safe harbor statement. The PEX feature has lots of cool upcoming features, and we may mention some upcoming things. We might have some forward-looking statements. Workday can always change release dates or make changes to those future features. So something we cover today could be changed in the future, but we will cover what we know we can do today. Brief agenda for today will be, we'll start by level setting what is people experience or PEX. Then we'll step into our alternative methods for case creation, those being business process case creation, and then I will hand it to Amy to cover email ingestion. So let's start with a PEX overview. People experience is the umbrella with the features that you see on the screen here. Workday Home, Assistant, and Everywhere are included in your general Workday subscription. They are generally available features under the PEX umbrella. Workday Journeys, which was actually the subject of our webinar last month, is a separate SKU. And what we're covering today is Workday Help. And the features within Workday Help, those are also a separate SKU. All of these features fall under the people experience umbrella. So let's dive into Workday Help. The features within Workday Help, we've got knowledge management and case management. Knowledge management being our content repository within and throughout your Workday tenant, where you can create help articles, categorize them, collaborate and maintain the content within them. You can track engagement and secure their visibility. This is fueling the employee experience by surfacing your content in an engaging manner, within the search feature as well as the help center. So these are also used as suggestions or case deflection tools in case management. And case management is the native ticketing system that allows workers to create HR cases, provide a space for that conversational experience between the worker and the HR representative, the service team that's solving the case, to come to a resolution. So we'll start by covering the standard and most common method of case creation, which is the create case task which is usually accessed via the Help Center or app in the global navigation menu. The employee is typically asked to select the case type, which does power the suggested resources on the right-hand side. The user adds their case title, and the machine learning takes over and updates the suggestions based on that content in the knowledge management module to try and surface the most relevant articles. This is in an attempt to provide the answer prior to case submission, right? Deflect that before it even makes its way to the service team. If the user still needs to submit the case, they add their description, but we can also require that they fill out a brief questionnaire. That's that add required details button. That's going to ensure that the case solving team that receives the case has enough info to get started on the path to resolve the case. So this is, like I said, the most standard delivered way to create cases. That's going to lead us to what we're talking about today, our alternative methods. We're going to start with this business process case creation. So all business processes in Workday are equipped with the create case service step, meaning any BP transaction has the ability to create a case on behalf of a worker. So when you configure that, the business process definition that you're looking to have create a case, you can set that step up to with the below features here. So optionally block the continuation of the BP until the case is resolved. You can also just allow the service step to complete and proceed down the rest of the process. You can designate which worker the case is for, meaning they'll appear as the owner in the case workspace. And you can also optionally have the step assign the about field to another worker who, as designed in Workday Help, remains in the dark in relation to the case's existence. You can also designate case type for routing purposes, and you set up the case title and description to either be static text, or you can pull in a title and description using dynamic fields relative to the event to provide that event level insight into the case, which is immediately visible to the service team and the worker who is assigned as the case solver in the help case workspace. Okay. So we did set up an example here. The next few slides show us screenshots of this example for adding the service step to the request leave of absence BP. But as I stated, this can work for any business process in Workday. You can see here the service step follows the HR partner's review step. So once that leave is approved, the leave request is approved by the HR partner, Workday attempts to create that case. So for this use case, we wanted it to create a case on behalf of the worker who is requesting the leave. So on the next slide, we'll set up the features, which is, you can see that the case is going to be owned by the worker in that who's the subject of the event. We left the about field blank as it isn't particularly relevant to this use case, but then we've designated the case type that's going to for absence and leave, right? That will follow our routing rules, which are set up on the maintain case routing task, just as if the case was created the typical way in the create case interface. So we also added the static case title and description, telling the service team that this case should be used for communication with the worker who's going on leave, for any details that may be relevant. You can see we also left the check box unchecked for business process blocked by case, meaning that once the service step completes, it just moves on to the next step in the process. It doesn't hold up the rest of the BP. Okay. So next you'll see this slide shows the event history. The highlighted step is the case being created by our service step. So technically in this use case, it shows the initiator being actually the worker who completed the review step prior to the create case step in the order of operations. Then on the next slide, we'll actually see the results in the workspace. So based on our case routing rules, the case type of absence and leave routes to the benefits service team. And that Gary shows as the case owner because he was the subject of the leave event. Now the case can be triaged, assigned, assessed against SLAs, and resolved just like any other case that comes into the workspace via any other method of case creation. So finally, we'll talk about some potential use cases for the feature. As you know, we quickly demoed the leave of absence one, but as mentioned before, any business process in Workday can do this. So the possibilities or potential use cases really are endless when it comes to business process transactions. Another example that I've seen with other customers, like job requisitions, this case can be created automatically to internally communicate between the manager and the TA service team potential compensation requirements or qualifications for the open job as the job is posted or candidates are sourced. Onboarding, creating an IT access or equipment request. So think about any to-do steps on your onboarding BP that might need some collaboration or work outside the system. This can track that communication. Again, and a couple other staffing BPs, right? Termination, contract contingent worker for a termination, removing potential clearances, or again, actions not currently documented or needed inside Workday previously. And contract contingent worker, perhaps any contracting or anything done outside the system, just allowing that to be tracked within your tenant. So overall, we currently see this as an underutilized feature that we wanted to highlight. And just in seeing that any BP can do this or these potential use cases, you may have already thought of a direct improvement that a currently manual process you have in your org that this could remedy or at least help you track some details for. So with that, I'll turn it over to Amy to discuss email ingestion.
Great, thank you, Nick. So honestly, from a consulting standpoint, email ingestion is also an underutilized feature. So with email ingestion, you can allow your workers or even non-workers to create cases. All they need to do is send an email into a specified domain, and then Workday will take that email and open a case, right? You can actually even do case replies via email. So you create a case, we respond to it. Your employees can actually work directly from their email instead of having to log into Workday to respond. As the kind of case owner, the one who created it. Now, the case solvers, they would stay in Workday, still be able to manage responses directly in cases within the workspace within Workday. But this would allow your case solvers not to have to check an external email, but also keep an eye on cases within Workday, kind of streamlines and puts all of those cases, those questions in one area. Okay. So I have a couple of screenshots here. There's a little bit of configuration with the email ingestions. So we're going to first talk about email ingestion by case creation, and you can see that kind of example here. So John, in this case, actually emailed in to a specified domain and wanted to open a case. So with his case, he had some missing hours. On the screen here, you can see directly in the case that the case solvers would know that it was created via email, right? You can see the content of the email, I'm missing hours on 4/15, and then you can even see my confidentiality or confidential information statement that came from my email when testing this scenario, right? So we create a domain that says, okay, anything that comes to this domain is automatically going to flow into Workday and create a case. Now you have a separate domain for case reply, and you do not have to enable case reply if you only want to do case creation via email ingestion, right? So in this scenario, Logan McNeil came in, responded to John, and John was able to log into his email and respond directly to that email to bring in that response into Workday, right? So John never had to log into Workday. Logan was able to capture his case from a case solver standpoint directly in Workday, but neither of them had to kind of hop over to different platforms to continue that conversation, right? With email ingestion, there is a delivered report out there only one, but essentially it's help email ingestions by date range, and it's going to tell you any emails that have come into that specified domain, or there's two specified domains, right? Because we have a help create, a case creation, and then a case reply domain. It'll tell you if it's failed, why it failed, who it came from, and all of the details there. So subject, plain text, body, you can extract the HTML body. Now, kind of hopping back, I'm gonna hop back for just a second. So email ingestion is also another, like I mentioned earlier, an underutilized feature within Workday. So you have your regular create case UI, you have your create case via business process, and then you have your email ingestions where you can create cases and reply via email. With those case replies, there's also a function for help case message templates, which is not a way to create a case, but it is an underutilized feature that kind of rolls into even my case replies, and case kind of management from the case solver side. So with these help case message templates, you can create these templates that enable your case solvers to have a predefined text so that whenever they receive a case for the first time, they can go in, they can select a message template that has a specified streamline statement in response, like, thank you for creating your case. We'll get back to you as soon as we can. Here's an FAQ. Here's something to help you, right? These message templates, they can include text fields. They can include dynamic fields that will populate data. You can include articles, tasks, or even file attachments. So if you don't have an article or a task, and maybe you just want to add a PDF directly to the message template, you can do that as well. So here is an example of a help case message template. So we have one called USA Employee Exit Response here. Only certain service teams have the access to this template, so you can limit it down, add all of your different service teams in there if you wanted to, but it can be a limited so that your payroll team is not accidentally sending out benefits PDFs or things like that. We have a message. We're sorry to hear you are leaving us. I've attached an FAQ. So that is a text field. It can also include dynamic fields within that. And then you can see here that we have an article attached to it. So US exit FAQs. Okay. When your case solvers are directly within the case, they can go into their response, and there's this little template button there at the bottom, and they can select that template, right? And so that template's going to pre-populate all of the applicable information, or the information from the template, and they can send it directly on, right? Without ever having to type it out, make sure it's streamlined with every other response that they've had. It's already pre-built in there for them. Okay. Now, with that, we are ready for questions.
Great, thank you both. We have a few questions, so I'll go ahead and get started. The first is, when a case is created via a BP, can the case solver easily see the BP that created it?
Yeah, I'll jump in on that one. It does show how the case is created. At the very top of the case timeline after it's created, it shows that, you know, how, in this case, yes, it would show that this was created through a business process. It doesn't necessarily specify the business process, but you could designate that via the title, right, is static text and things like that. So it does show that it was created via a BP, yes.
Okay. Can you use email ingestion for a specific case category?
So with email ingestion, whenever you have those cases, you designate one case type. So every email that comes in goes to one specified case type. Now, as a way to get around that, you can always create like a triage kind of team that would then apply a different case type to help kind of push it to the correct service team.
Okay. With email ingestion, how does it know which case type to use?
There is a settings within tenant setup for help where we determine the one case type that would be utilized.
Okay. Can we set up message templates to be sent automatically?
At this time, no, I don't think I've seen any movement towards that. Nick, have you?
Agree with you. No, I haven't seen any movement towards that at the moment. No.
Okay.
Okay. With email ingestion, are there any checks to make sure that at the emailer has permission to create the target request type?
Yes, so you can specify that you only want to allow your workers, so your contingent workers are your employees, to actually create cases via email ingestion. So if any random spam emails or anyone else messages that domain, it could automatically reject it. You can also, not to throw too much out there, but what we see a lot of times is that the customer themselves have a mailbox that kind of triages items right before it comes into Workday. So we can exclude them from being accepted at the Workday level, but you can also block any users from your email inbox as well, right? So we can have two layers there.
Okay. Few more questions. If a case service team replies in a help case and attaches a document, does the worker get the document in the reply, or do they have to view the attachment inside the help case in Workday?
That is a great question, Nick.
Yeah, it is a really good question. I believe they would that the notification would not include the document, just like other Workday notifications, right? Aren't going to be necessarily attaching a document. The way it comes in, it looks like, hey, there's an update on your case. It shows the details of that update, and they reply directly to that notification. But I don't believe the document would be attached to the reply, but in the email they receive, just like other Workday notifications, would be a link to the details of the case, which would bring them right into Workday, where they could into the details of the case itself to actually see that document. But that's a very good question.
Okay, perfect. There's a follow-up to a previous question that was asked, and it says, when a case is created via BP, is there an ability to click through to that specific BP event? And then they said, I understand that we can include a description in the text.
I see. So potentially it's nothing delivered where it doesn't say here's the event that triggered the this case creation. What I would look into doing is we can control on the right hand side of the screen in a case, right? We control the help case information, and there is my assumption is that we'd be able to build calc fields that find the event and give you a hyperlink to it, right? In the information where we see about the employee on the right hand side. I don't think it would be all that difficult to build some calc fields to find the event and give them a direct link to it in the case workspace, but not delivered. But I think what you're looking for would be doable to find the event.
Okay. It looks like we have one more question right now. If anyone has any additional questions, we do have a little bit of time. But this question is there any way to notify the HR team that a case has been submitted?
So that, I mean, yes, it depends on the case type, or actually, sorry, it depends on the service team the case has been routed to. You can set up your notification settings in Help. And actually, this is more of a recent function in the last year, I believe, maybe last fall, where we have a lot deeper control over the what triggers a notification in Workday Help, who receives that notification. So if a case being created, it is unassigned when it's created, you can notify the entire team that, hey, this case exists. So that is in your help notification settings. Again, I think that those features came out in the fall of last year. Before we didn't have as deep a control of how we would update, or we could really only update someone who was assigned to the case and not the team that received it, because there was no official assignee yet. So, but now we do have that ability. Yes.
Okay, great. Thanks, Nick. It doesn't look like we have any additional questions, so we can wrap up early and give everyone some time back. Thanks, Nick and Amy, for presenting today. If anyone has any additional questions, please reach out to your ACC, or you can email success@intercrowd.com, and we're happy to answer any additional questions you may have. And with that, we hope everyone has a great day, and thanks for joining.